to the Simply His Coffee Shop. Thank you so much for joining us again today. We have Brittney Jackson again with us today, so it's been really fun having her with us. We're going to ask more questions. Again, we thought it would be still fun to give you guys insight into how we think, and these are random questions that people have asked us, and they're kind of fun. They make it easy to talk about, and they actually do give more to actually think about in some ways, because then it's like, oh, I would not have even thought to ask that, or I wouldn't have even thought to remember that story just because of the questions and then the conversation it brings up. So that's kind of been fun.
If I might add, Katherine, it's probably a really, really good way for us to kind of ease out of this year and into the next year, because it's giving us a moment to kind of break it down, talk to the audience out there, get to know them a little bit, and hopefully if they send us their questions, we can get to know them a little bit more.
Right. Yeah.
Not just the questions, but the comments.
Yeah, their
answering
answers.
some of the questions we've answered. I'd love to read some of those. Give us a little bit of a pulse as to what they can relate to as far as we are. So
what
I think
they
it's
care about.
a great way to end and
Absolutely.
begin
Yeah.
to transition this year.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to that.
So this first one I think would be kind of fun. What's your go-to comfort food?
Oh.
Not what you
Great
have
way
to
to
eat
start the
to
year.
keep your waistline, but what's your favorite kind of food?
Okay,
This is not the new your resolution question.
Right.
This is
So are we talking food or sweets?
either or, all of the above.
You know, when it's raining, it's a Friday night, you just went grocery shopping, so you have all your food. What's like your thing?
I have Kate come over and cook for me.
That's where I'm at. And she
Anything
invites
Kate
me.
cooks.
And she invites me, and see, we just all of it do it all in one night.
No, Kate's an amazing cook. I taught her well. No, I'm just kidding. Actually,
She's got great instinct.
She does have great instinct. She always teases. I don't know if you've watched the movie Ratatouille with the little rat that wants to be a chef and stuff. She's like, Mom, I got a little bit of Ratatouille in me because I like smell stuff and I can just know what needs to go with what. So she's my little chef for sure. But I've taught her, like all the basics, and then she's taken it to the next level. So my comfort food is when Kate cooks.
Do you have a specific meal that she cooks that's like your favorite?
So she makes these chicken thighs usually, and she'll marinate them, and then she blackstones them, and oh my goodness, they are like amazing. And then she'll usually do like a side of kind of like hibachi vegetables to go with it. It's so good.
Yes,
But anything that I don't have to cook is a good comfort
Or really
meal.
have dishes, because the Blackstone, it's one pan.
It is. It's outside too, so.
she also makes a really good chicken burger.
Yes.
And that sounds plain until you
No.
put Kate in the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then by
no.
the time she's done and does her magic or does her little seasonings and the ratatouille tricks,
And her sauce that goes on it.
Yes.
And yeah, Kate, when she makes you
Signature.
something, you got to try it how she planned it, because it all works together.
It does.
You can't just eat the chicken by itself. It has to go
Right.
with the little lettuce wrap and the
pineapple and the
sauce.
avocado and the yes. One of my other go-tos for comfort food to a degree is like a creamy potato soup.
Oh, yeah, that's
That's
good.
always, it's really easy to make, but then it's just so comforting and stuff too for some reason.
Kind of hits the spot.
Yeah, especially if you're describing a rainy night type thing. That's always a nice fall go-to, especially.
If you're talking comfort food, probably something like a stew.
My curry.
Oh, man. Okay,
yeah,
there you
Catherine's
go.
curry is really great.
Yeah, that's not just comfort. That's crazy good.
Yeah. Anytime there's like a family thing or like
That
a work
is-
thing,
yeah.
and you walk in, you smell the pot going of Catherine's curry.
Yeah, she does.
You're like,
make
I
the
could be here
best.
for a while.
There is no other. I've not tasted it. Donna also makes a variation of a curry chicken that's also equally as delicious, but has its own seasonings that she puts in it. But
Well, I
yeah.
think it's more of a butter chicken.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's more of an Indian type curry flavor
So
thing.
those are
So it's
probably comfort
different.
foods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, Dakota and I went to Donna's house like a few years ago, and she made me butter chicken. And fun thing about me is I used to be a very picky eater. I can still be a little picky, but I was like very scared to try like
Anything.
any different. I used to eat hamburgers with no cheese on it, like when I was a
Gotcha.
kid, kind of picky.
Yeah.
But now I'm not as picky anymore. I just don't really like fish as like my only no. But I'm willing to try
Try
things
it
though.
at
Yeah.
least. Yeah.
And we went to Donna's house, and she asked, what should she make for us? And I'm like, I don't know, whatever you want to make. Like, I don't like to put things on people.
Sure.
And so she made butter chicken. And I was a little nervous to try it because I'd never even heard of it. And so I just got a little bit on my plate, and I got rice because I'm like, I can eat the rice, if I don't love it. But man, it like set me. I love butter chicken now. That's one of my comfort
foods. So now you're a fan.
Yeah, thanks to Donna, butter chicken. And me and my husband Dakota, we kind of just like Asian food in general.
Yeah.
We like to eat tofu a lot, like fried tofu in like the air fryer kind of fried.
Yeah.
And like beef bulgogi and stir fries, anything like that. That's our fave.
Recently, I have been drinking a cup of soursop tea. And then I like to eat something a little bit sweet, which I'm not much of a sugar hound, but I either like a little piece of chocolate, a little protein bar, something that's got a little bit of sweet, because the soursop tea has its own distinct flavor, but the two together, it's my evening treat that I do in the evening. When I'm done with the day and I'm winding down, I like my tea and my sweet.
My husband loves tea too. That's like his thing at night is he has all these different kinds of teas, but he'll drink like 2 or 3 cups of tea before bed. And it's usually caffeine free, obviously.
Oh, good.
So that he could sleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, he loves tea.
Well, we have a pretty good line of tea for Simply His.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
If anybody out there listening has tried any of it, but it's really good. I really like the breakfast tea myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like more of the Earl Grey, and I know you don't like it as much, but
It's not my fave, but ours is
I do
pretty
like
good.
it a lot. Joe really likes it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, and it's loose leaf, so you can make it really strong. My husband
Yeah.
likes it really strong.
Yeah.
Any tea. He'll put 2 tea bags in if he's drinking tea.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like how it's loose leaf because then you can just put your
as
little
much
diffuser, put
in,
as much,
yeah.
And he loves the Eden's Essential Sour Sop
Yes.
too. I don't really love tea unless it's like Southern sweet tea. But Dakota loves the sour sop because sometimes I have to film like little promos for it and then I give it to him afterwards.
Oh,
'cause he
okay.
loves it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go to waste.
That's funny. We used to eat sour sop from the tree, like the actual fruit,
Oh,
the sour
wow.
sop fruit.
Wow.
We had that growing in the islands all the time. So, I mean, we used to eat the actual sour sop fruit. I never
Yeah.
had the tea before, but
Yeah, I had never heard of that word
yeah,
until Joe brought it into Eden's. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, sour what?
sour sop.
And when I tell other people, it's like, you have to say it and then you have to spell it.
Yeah.
Yes, it is exactly the way it sounds. Anyway, but yeah, it's become one of my favorites. And it's
The fruit is really good too, though.
Can't wait to taste the fruit if I ever get a chance. But the tea
Sometimes
itself
the
is
Asian
delish.
markets have it
We'll
occasionally.
have to.
And if you're in the Midwest, pawpaw trees are actually in the same family as sour sop.
Okay.
So it's a little. I think it's a little bit of a different flavor.
Sure.
But it has the same health benefits.
Ooh, nice.
So got a pawpaw tree.
That one. I'll have to
Little side note.
search our acreage. Get
Yeah.
Kate on that.
You might-
Kate?
I
have
know.
one, yeah.
Cake and forage for it.
They're like the little green fruit, and they have like a little indent. I'll put like a picture on the screen so you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Okay, here's another fun one. What's one thing you can't live without? No, so not a person, but like a thing you have that you can't live without.
My fan for sleeping.
Yeah.
I've gotten so used to having my fan to sleep because, like, a few weeks ago, we had a really bad storm come through and the power went out and everything. And so it was like hard to sleep without your little noise maker
Yeah.
machine thing. So that's probably one thing I can't really live without anymore. But everything else I can usually. I do like my coffee in the morning, but I usually only drink 1 cup and then I'm good for the day.
I got to have my cup of coffee in the morning. Okay, yes, I have lived without it, but it is my morning go-to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's my thing. Sometimes I'll have 2 cups. Most of the time I'll drink just 1. But that's my thing.
My husband has to sleep with a fan too, and it'll be dead of winter, like -10 outside. I'm like, you gotta have the fan facing on you because I'm cold. Mm-hmm. But I like the noise too. And we have a white noise machine, and that helps a lot too because he has trouble sleeping, and it's really hard to sleep when it's like dead silent because then every little like noise kind
Yep.
of wakes you up. And especially our house is from the 50s, so that it's always creaking and you got chickens outside, so there's always like some kind of, or a cat running up and down
Yeah.
the stairs. So yeah, I like having the white noise machine to kind of just drone it all out so you can just focus on sleeping.
Yeah, I don't want it blowing on me. I just want the sound of it. So we just have a box fan over in the corner facing the wall so I don't feel the wind from it. That is probably the thing that I I have a hard time living without. I could get used to it again, but if I don't have to.
Yeah.
What's funny is for me is that white noise and fan noise and any of those noises that's the same thing all night long, to me becomes the same as silence. It doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, because you can sleep with the TV on, and that helps you more than anything.
It does. However, I will tell you a little secret I've recently discovered, which I think I really like, and that is I use my phone on audio Bible so that I have the talking. So I have noise, but what's going in my head is a better...
Sure.
Yeah, then just whatever the TV decides to play at 2 in the morning.
Right.
Some kind of commercial
So
or something.
That has been actually peaceful because
That
I
makes
wake
sense.
up and it's just right there.
Yeah.
If I don't have some kind of talking, my brain will go right back into work mode.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm sitting there now trying to figure out tomorrow's problems. But when I'm listening to the audio Bible, it's like, no, I'm learning, and I can whisper my thoughts and my prayers. That's probably what I can't live without, would be that noise at night that I can listen to and learn from.
What's a skill or hobby that you've always wanted to learn?
Instantly. 2 things. I would love to learn to speak Spanish, and I would love to finish learning how to do sign language. Now, those are 2 things I probably could attain, except for I do have a speech impediment, and I cannot roll my R's. And that is a definite, distinct thing you have to know how to do, and I can't do it to save my life. I could remember, like, if I hear him talk, I could follow a little bit of it.
Sure.
So I've had a little bit of fun with that on occasion, where people are saying things they don't think I understand, and I can turn around and just rattle just enough. But,
Yeah.
I've only done that a couple times.
Yeah, I'm like
funny.
you. I can understand a lot of it growing up in Arizona. And then a lot of my family members, well, I'm a quarter Mexican, so they all spoke Spanish. And actually, one of my aunts growing up would babysit me a lot. And she was from Mexico. And so she would be speaking to us in Spanish. And my mom would joke, like, I'd come home and she's like, I don't know what you're saying, because I'd be speaking Spanish to my mom who doesn't understand all of it. And like my little kid language. So yeah, a lot of Spanish words, like, I still use.
Right.
Kind of like daily, because that's just like what we grew up doing. Speaking it is a lot harder than understanding, because you have to pronounce it correctly.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's
it's almost like
usually-
embarrassing when you get it wrong.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
usually how you learn a language, though, anyways, is you learn to understand it first before then you start speaking
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And the best way to learn a language is immersion.
But sign language, I love sign language. I'm very intrigued with it. And years ago, we had a lady in our church who had a young girl she was 9 years old, and she was in our choir, and she could sit and talk with her daughter right there. And if her daughter was acting up, she could tell her to sit down and be quiet. And after I started learning, I was right there listening to, she got in trouble. But it was very intriguing because I learned to speak enough to talk to the daughter, but I've always appreciated that language is so beautiful. Because it's also partly your body language. And when you work with horses and animals, you learn to read their body. And
Yes.
I love the fact that sign language can be just as technical or just as beautiful
Yeah.
as any other language.
Yeah, I
But
took a sign language class in college,
Yeah.
my undergrad. And my teacher was actually deaf, and he had a really cool story. He was from some Asian country. I don't remember exactly what it was now, but I think he was from the Philippines. And a family from China actually had adopted him.
Oh, wow.
And whenever he was like 18 months old, he got really sick, and they gave him some kind of antibiotic, and that's what made him go deaf.
Oh,
He had some kind of reaction to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so whenever he was in China, every country has like their own kind of sign language.
Yeah.
But I don't know, something about the family he was in where like you have to learn how to speak with your voice, not by sign language. And so he told us that he had gone his entire life kind of understanding what people were saying, because it's hard to read lips if there's
Yeah.
a lot of people in the room, and sometimes what you're reading isn't really what the person's saying. There's words that look
Oh, yeah. Big time.
similar, and I'm sure that's even more difficult with Mandarin because the pitch
It's
of their
tonal.
voice.
It's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
tonal. Yeah.
He actually got in some kind of scholarship to come to the United States to go to college, but somehow he got into like the deaf community and learned sign language. And he was actually crying telling the story, because he's like, I had gone like 20 years of my life not understanding
Or being able to speak.
yeah, or really being able to communicate, and then he learned sign language and it changed his life. So it made me want to learn it even harder. 'Cause it's
Yeah.
like if you come in contact with somebody who's deaf and you can help them or just
Yeah.
even talk to them. That's like really special.
Right.
I know the alphabet. If I brushed up, I knew quite a bit from taking that class. I know Jesus in sign language. It's just this.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of it too is very symbolic. You know, this
Yes.
is like the nails in Jesus's hands.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think this is Lord, like
Yeah.
your belt across your chest. Do you have a hobby or skill that you'd like to learn?
So I have a Cricut that I really like, and I love playing with it and doing little crafts with it and making t-shirts and, things like that. One of the ones that I haven't really gotten into yet, but I'd like to, and I do have some of the stuff for it, but I just haven't dived in yet, and I'd like to learn how to do it really well, is, how everybody's making those enamel cups?
Yeah.
Or how they create different cups and different colors and things like that for like the mugs and the thermoses and stuff. I'd really like to learn how to do that and be good at that, because there's a lot that goes into it. I think that would be fun to learn to do that.
I've heard you say that you can knit and stuff.
Yeah, I love to crochet. Knitting was always a little bit harder for some reason, but yeah, I love to crochet. I'd like to get better at it because there's still a lot, even in crocheting, that I don't know. And people do crazy stuff with crocheting, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably honing more of the hobbies I already like and do have access to would probably be my bigger thing instead of just learning a new one.
Yeah, I like to embroider. That's like been my thing kind of for the past 4 years. But I also like doing woodwork. Well, I'm trying to get into woodwork stuff. Like I have a lot of the tools, but it's kind of intimidating to actually do it.
It is.
And in the past, I really liked refinishing furniture, but it's so time consuming.
It is.
I refinished dressers and tables and stuff. And I'm like you, I don't necessarily need a new hobby. I just want time for the ones that I
actually enjoy
really
doing.
like reading. That's kind of been my newest hobby the past 2 years, but sometimes it's hard to do fun reading when you're doing homework reading.
Yeah, I get that.
And your brain is just so melted. But then sometimes it's weird. It's like a reprieve from the kind of academic reading. And sometimes I can still like read a lot of like fiction books, even after reading like primary sources all day, all these kind of really hard to read things. This year I wanted to read 25 books, but I've only gotten to 12, which is still a lot, but I just didn't have very much time this year.
Yeah.
And I wasn't disciplined. I try to replace, scrolling on your phone at night with reading at least for 30 minutes. And that's like the best way to tackle like reading a big list of books.
Yeah.
Doing it, like you said, baby steps, little things every day. Because then you start with 30 minutes and then you get really into it and you want to keep reading.
Going. Yeah.
And then it's also a really good way to like relax your mind and be able to sleep better than like scrolling on your phone or something like
'cause
that.
the screen
That's
time.
very
Yeah.
stimulating. to
Yeah,
do
and
that.
reading can be way more relaxing, depending on what you're reading. Sometimes it's like an intense part in your book. You're like, I have to finish.
I
and,
gotta
like,
at least get to the end of the chapter.
yeah.
Well, we are all out of time again. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and I hope you enjoyed. And please comment. We would love to hear from you. Send us a message or send us an email or just comment on the video. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next week in the Simply His Coffee Shop.